Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. It's me, Steven. It is Vlogtober day 5. It is 7:06 p.m. I have not left the house once. And so that's not really great for Vlogtober, is it? But I asked you guys last week for some questions that I could put together for a Q&A video, and you did great. You sent me a whole bunch of questions, so I'm going to use those questions tonight and do a little Q&A video. I love a good Q&A, especially from someone I have invested a fair amount of time in watching them on YouTube. So it gives me a little insight maybe as to what they're thinking, how they work, what makes them tick, and so on. So I love a good Q&A video. The questions you guys have asked go all over the place, from personal life, work, my dentures, all sorts of questions. So I'm going to try to address a number of them. I don't know how far I'll get, but there's a bunch of great questions in here. So let's jump in and answer some questions. So let's start with Christopher, and I apologize for looking at my laptop over here. Christopher asked, couldn't you try training for a while to see if you like it and return to flying if it's not for you? Would you lose your flight attendant seniority? So, as I understand it, I could be wrong, as I understand it, I can become a part-time instructor. So I could maybe train for 3 to 6 months and then go back to flying and then come back to training and go back to flying. I still love my job. I love being a flight attendant. I love it more so now than I might have even loved it years ago. So I'm hesitant to actually leave flying for becoming an in-flight instructor. So, but I would do it part-time. One of those reasons I love my job. The other would be that, while I don't know this for sure, but as I understand it, if I become a full-time instructor for a year or longer, my seniority kind of freezes. So they say you don't lose it, but my seniority would remain static where other people's seniority would rise up around me. That's kind of, to me, akin to losing seniority. So that's if you do it a year or longer full-time, I believe. That's what I understand. So I'm still tempted to apply. Applying is if I don't work for the company at all. I actually have to go to the website, find the listing, apply for the job, including uploading my resume. I don't even know where my resume is. I may have to write a new one, which sounds daunting to me, because I never thought I'd need my resume again. So I'd have to find it. So there you go. I'm not sure if I answered that well or not. Diva Kingsley, he's a coworker of mine, a lovely man. I've only worked with him once before, but it was a joy, so I hope we fly together again soon. But he asked 3 questions here. First, do you celebrate Halloween? He starts off with the easy one, then he asks a couple difficult ones later on. Do you celebrate Halloween? If so, buddy, it would be cool to showcase maybe with some type of Halloween costume, seeing as if he's a black cat. Well, I don't celebrate Halloween, mostly because I'm lazy. I would put up Halloween decorations and they would stay there for 2 or 3 months, which really wouldn't make a lot of sense. Versus Christmas, which I'll put up right after Thanksgiving or maybe earlier and leave up through January, and it doesn't seem so lame. But Halloween, yeah. So I don't really celebrate Halloween. I have not been to a Halloween party or anything like that as an adult. I've never been invited to a Halloween party. I think I tried to host a Halloween party. This is years and years ago, and no one showed up. 0 goose egg. No one showed. So I never tried again. Let's see. Question number 2. What advice would you give people who want to become flight attendants but are apprehensive because of the possible merger? If you did not know already, JetBlue is in the process of doing what's called a hostile takeover. It's not really a merger so much as an acquisition, although from what I understand, it's going to be treated more like a merger. So I don't know these I don't understand contract language very well. But what my suggestion be, if you want to work for my company, apply, go to training, become a flight attendant. From what I understand, now I spoke to a couple friends who are more knowledgeable about this process than I am, but they all said if this acquisition is approved by the Justice Department, it's going to take a couple of years for things to be ironed out. And then even after that, it could take 3, 4, 5 years potentially until things are actually merged. If you think about it, JetBlue and my company, there are vast differences in terms of equipment, styling, how planes are put together, what's whatever, blah, blah, blah. So it's going to take a while for this to happen. And now one of my greatest fears, and I was very fearful about this acquisition, was my base going to survive? They're going to really need Las Vegas as a base. Seniority, I don't know how that's going to work, but it's going to work. It's going to take a long time for it to happen. So I would suggest applying to my company, getting a job, and living your best life. You're going to get a line faster than you would at other airlines. And I don't know, the freedom that I have in my airline, you're not going to find anywhere else, really. For example, one example is minimum number of hours flying. Like most airlines have a required minimum. I believe American's like 40, so you're required to fly at least 40 hours a month, I believe. I don't know what Southwest requires. Someone told me that JetBlue requires you to work 70 hours a month. I don't even know. Is that even... That just sounds like a lie, to require someone to work that many hours. But in my airline, we don't have any minimum. So if you want to drop your whole month, if you can drop your whole month, there are ways that sometimes it's a little tricky. You can do so. And some people in my airline work specifically for my airline because of the amount of freedom that we have with our schedules. There's a whole bunch of reasons I would come to my airline. It is very true that we lose a lot of flight attendants to other airlines. So a lot of people get their feet wet here and then move on to other airlines. I would never do that personally because I couldn't go through another training if my life depended on it. But we have a ton of other flight attendants from other companies who have come to our airline because of the freedom that we have in my company. So there's a whole bunch of reasons I would apply, but I would apply and get the job and come to work and learn how to be a flight attendant. This merger is not going to happen for a number of years. So come on, join the party, see what happens. It's going to be a good time. I'm sure. I'm much less scared about it now than I was when the merger was first announced, the acquisition was first announced. I hope that was a sensible answer. Question number 3. This is the hard one. When you speak about being single, do you try to go out and meet people or go online dating and it just doesn't work out? Or are you just busy with your career and cats and that's enough to make you the happiest person? Blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I don't go out. Number 1, that's the first part. I don't go out to bars and stuff, mostly because I'm sober. I'm 20 years sober. I can be around people who are drinking. I have a lot of ex-boyfriends, and none of them were sober. All of them drank, more responsibly than not, but none of them were ever sober. I don't know if I'd ever really want to date someone who's sober. Just too many similarities, But so I just don't go out to bars, mostly because people get sloppy. A couple of drinks in, people are having fun, a couple of laughs, they want to dance, and then it just gets messy and sloppy and so I much prefer wide awake people and not sloppy. And the bars I typically feel comfortable in that I've always gone to are typically things like leather bars, bear bars. If you remember the Police Academy movies from like a century ago, that bar, the Blue Oyster, I think it was called, that's like my favorite genre of bar. But what I don't like about those places now is like the smell of old beer, carpets that are really questionable, bathrooms that aren't always safe, that's a whole different conversation, not for YouTube. Yeah, so I don't go out to bars. Online dating, there are a ton of apps, many of which you might already know about, that are just not my speed at all. And other online dating websites, I've tried them years ago, and I've gone out on a couple of dates, and it just always seemed, yeah, it was never a good fit. It never felt comfortable. I don't like the sort of artificial nature of meeting someone online, and gay men typically go, well, we don't go right for the jugular, but we go for another vein, if you know what I mean. Just like real quick, and that's just not what I'm looking for. So yeah, so clearly I'm not really well poised to meet anybody. Have I been too colorful? Possibly. Sorry. I do, I would think I could potentially meet someone in the industry somehow. I would never, ever, ever, ever flirt with a passenger, because I just don't think that would be appropriate, and it could potentially be dangerous for my job. So I would never do that. But it's a big industry with, lots of people. I have a pottery class that I go to, as you know about. I have a lot of wonderful friends I've met there. One of which was going to fix me up with someone that she knew very well. I suggested that he watch one of my videos. So it's like a little pre-game, get to know Steven before you meet him. And he never, he didn't seem to like what he saw. That's fine. And I have another friend, Tori, who last week suggested that I go out with her husband, another couple, and one of their friends who she thinks would be a good match for me. And she and I really, really click. I love this woman, Tori. She's who I really want to grow up to be. So we'll see. That might happen. And I told her, I don't want to make the evening uncomfortable if we don't hit it off. She's like, I just want you to get along with my husband. I think you're great, So that's what my social life looks like right now, which sounds so pathetic as I'm talking about it. But I am happy single. I'm pretty happy alone. I do get lonely sometimes, to be honest. All the YouTubers that I do follow have boyfriends or fiancés or husbands, and I just feel like there's something missing. I do miss like holding hands. I miss the romantic, going out for dinner, and yeah, I do miss some of that. But let's just leave that whole topic alone, because I'm getting sad. Let's continue. Do you think passenger behavior has improved because people don't have to wear masks on board? This is from Joan. Or is it something else? Just a thought. I think that question is based on the fact that lately I've had for the past couple months, if not longer, I've had amazing passengers, not a single problem outside of a couple medicals, really. I think, honestly, people are just happy to be flying again. They're not being restrained by this mask on their face, so they're just at ease. Plus, as I think I mentioned earlier in this video, I have come back to loving my job, if not more than I had 3 or 4 years ago. My enthusiasm level at work has risen entirely. My mood, my morale at work has been improved vastly. Again, probably because the pandemic has passed for the most part. So I think that my relationship with passengers when they're on board has improved. So yeah, I don't usually have problems with passengers. You'll see all manner of things on the news, and I will hear all sorts of coworkers almost brag about how difficult they have with some passengers. I just don't have these problems. Usually, I think because I'm like, not that my coworkers aren't nice. I really try to be super, super nice. When someone's coming on the plane, I'm like, oh, I love your earrings. Don't you just love when jewelry kind of kisses your neck? They're just kind of, it's like bangles and dangle earrings. Just kind of, they're part of your, it's fun. Or if they have a blanket or a pillow, I'm like, who's ready for a nap? I just try to start off each interaction on a positive, fun note. And so, That's how it's been the whole time I've been a flight attendant. Ta-da! So I'm not quite sure if that answered the question, but I think a quick yes or no, yes. I think things are easier because they don't have to wear a mask. There's less rules to follow. But my approach to each interaction with my guests has also brightened and is more positive and happy. So it's probably a combination of both. Question: when flying a low-cost airline, because the question mentions an airline that I might work for, when flying as a low-cost airline passenger, what carry-on luggage tips do you have? Should we only bring a small carry-on and no check bag? Is it possible to bring on a carry-on and a small rollerboard? Let's answer those because I think there's another question there. So what, in terms of bags, what baggage to carry on a low-cost airline like Allegiant, Frontier, Spirit? I don't know. I've never flown Avalo, whatever that new one is. So it really all depends on what you're going, why you're traveling, what you have to bring with you. If you're going for fun, you're coming to Vegas, you're going to a resort destination, and all you really need is a bathing suit, a couple changes of clothes, your toiletries, and a couple pairs of shoes. I would throw those all into a backpack or a small duffel, something small that fits in under the seat. All of the airlines I mentioned will have their dimensions online, so you know how big the bag is going to be. Make sure the bag is soft-sided and very squishy, so you can really put it in that. There's a measurer, like a bin, that you have to kind of put the bag in and prove that it will fit under the seat. So make that bag super squishy, super soft. Don't take any really rigid items and put them in there like a big giant curling iron. You know, make sure everything's in there is kind of soft or that can be moved around. Let's see. Carry-on tips. Oh, that's a whole video, right? You can carry a rollerboard, a carry-on suitcase, and a personal item, but keep in mind your purse would count as a carry-on, a personal item. So whatever if you're gonna have a purse, make sure you have room in your personal item to combine them so you can consolidate the two of them, taking it apart later on, because your purse is definitely your personal item. So if you want to carry something else, make sure your purse fits inside that personal item. You can also carry a rollerboard or a carry-on as well, but I think all the low-cost carriers charge for those bags. Even some of the larger airlines are starting to charge for having a carry-on suitcase. I would only go with a bag that was 21 inches or 19 inches and smaller. I would go for honestly, I'm always a two-wheel guy. I'm not a four-wheel guy on my rollerboard or my carry-on suitcases. Two wheels, they're like set inside the frame of the bag and they don't stick out as much, so you're going to have an easier time closing the overhead bin. If you're taking a tram or a train at the airport, going from terminal to your gates, I'll tell you, a bag with four wheels is like a dog on a leash, and it just rolls around. It's hard to maneuver. I always go with two wheels in my bag. So I think I could make a whole separate video about that topic, but that's a little answer. Is my airline that I work for really as impossible rigid about carry-on bags as people keep telling me? Yes. Yes, they are. And for a couple of reasons. First off, since you have to pay for that carry-on bag, some people don't bring one. If you're told, hey, it's free, bring it with you, everyone brings them, and it's always overpacked, and those overhead bins are always stuffed. There's never room for your bag. It's a mess. My airline, we charge for it, so some people don't carry a bag on. So I usually have plenty of space in the overhead bin. Plus, because our ticket prices and the business model we have is a la carte. You buy what you want, you don't buy what you don't need. So if you're buying with my airline or Allegiant or Frontier, for example, you're paying for your ticket on your regular seat. If you want a specific seat, you pay for that. If you want to sit in an exit row or a big front seat, for example, a larger front seat, you pay for that. If you want to carry on a suitcase, you pay for that. So if you don't want that, if you're just going to Vegas for a weekend and all you need is a bathing suit and a pair of heels, why pay for a suit, the cost of a suitcase? That doesn't make any sense. For example, Southwest will allow you to carry 2 suitcases, both of them being 50 pounds, right? And a personal item and a carry-on. All right. Do you think carrying 2 suitcases, the airplane carrying 2 suitcases and a personal item and a rollerboard for 100 and some odd passengers, throwing it all across the entire continent, do you think that's free? No, it costs a lot of money to carry all that weight, and all that's built into the ticket. You have to understand this business model that these low-cost airlines use. So if you don't need to carry bags, you're not going to have to pay blah, blah, blah. So your ticket prices are lower, and I'm not really being very good at describing why, but yes, they are very particular. The gate agents are eagle-eyed, and they will catch you if you try to slip a bag past. And if you try to slip a bag past, once boarding has started, it's going to cost you even more than if you bought or paid for that bag when you got your ticket. So always pay for your bag when you get your ticket. Don't wait until you get to the airline. So yes, they are as difficult, but there's reasons. Do you have other tips for making a flight on my airline easier for passengers? All right, real quick, real easy. If you want snacks or drinks, pack your own snacks, bring an empty bottle, fill it on the airline at the airport, because people get bent out of shape when I say, oh, that bottle of water is $3.50. It's going to be $4 soon. Prices are going up. Snacks. We charge a lot of money for snacks like you do at the movies. We're not quite as bad as the movies, but we do charge a fair amount of money for the snacks and sodas and things. So bring your own empty water bottle, because you can't bring it through TSA, obviously. Another tip, do not bring your own alcohol or other party goods on board and think you're going to drink them, because you will get caught, and there's an enormous, ginormous fine. It's against the law. So because you can buy that alcohol in the airport and they say, hey, buy it to go, don't do it. Don't do it. Save your money, buy that alcohol when you get where you're going. What other tip? I would splurge for choosing your seat. Pick your seat, especially if you have a family, you're with other people, other friends, because the seat you're assigned, I'm not a gate agent, so I don't know for sure, but the seat you're assigned has a lot to do with when you check in, not when you buy your ticket, not who's on your reservation, when you check in. So check in as early as you can, number one. I would also splurge and pay to select the seat you sit in. Otherwise, you're just assigned a random seat. Sometimes it's a benefit. I had a passenger last week who got one of our big front seats. It's like a business class seat. He didn't pay for it. He just checked in early. He was assigned that seat by the system. Yay for him, right? But then you get some guy who's like 6'9", who checked in late, and he was assigned like 26F. So he's sitting in the back of the aircraft with his knees up under his chin. I was able to get him a seat that was better for him because I was lucky and had that open seat. But always splurge to select the seat you want to sit in. If you're a big person, curvy, super tall, if you're on the wider side, if you need room, and you're with my airline, we have something called a big front seat. There's only 6 of them, I think. On one aircraft, there's 10 on the other. Always splurge for that if you can. Those are the general tips I can think of. Otherwise, I can talk for an hour. I'll do a separate video on that. That's a great topic. Let's see. I've asked. Let me see. One sec. All right. So I'm not sure how to pronounce this screening, because she always leaves comments. I think it's a she. Leth. She's just a very loving, constant viewer, and I adore her. Her, I think it's a her. But the comment underneath her question was, I ask these things because people who have traveled on my airline keep telling me to never fly my airline. And I hear this over and over from many different people, but I just can't believe that it's as bad after watching your videos. Am I being stubbornly naive not to listen to others? You know, I just deadheaded twice on my last trip. And deadheading, surrounded by all these people, some of which who don't know how to fly, some of which who don't fly very often or have other expectations, the baby crying behind you, the fact that you're sitting really snugly between other people, it's awkward and uncomfortable. And then you're told that you're going to be charged for your suitcase and all these little things. It can set these, it can just create a lot of pressure. And so, yeah, I think people sometimes don't fly well on my airline. And so people judge the airline based on the behavior of the passengers. Does that make any sense at all? So, yeah, I don't have that many problems on my aircraft. I've seen it happen on others, but the biggest challenge with my airline and the genre that I work for is not the airline so often as sometimes other passengers who really don't know how to be a good citizen on an airplane. Does that make any sense at all? So I would give my airline a try, even if it's a short flight somewhere. Give it a try. And back to tips on flying. Not just my airline, but the last couple flights I've had, we had a ton of children, and thankfully they were all really, really, really well behaved. A couple of them had serious issues with their ears and stuff. And I don't know if parents always think about things like air pressure in the ear. They just throw some gum at the kid and think that's going to work. I would always, before flying a long cross-country flight with little kids, I would suggest going on a short jump from your town to maybe the next closest destination, so that your kids have an opportunity to learn how to fly, what to expect, to see if they're going to have any problems like with pressure in their ears or whatever. So I would always do a little practice run to a very close destination, just to have a practice so your kids know what to expect on a longer flight, and you maybe have a better idea of how to set a car seat into one of our seats or whatever. So I'm sorry to go back and forth with that. I think I'm going to answer one more question because this is becoming already a half-hour long video. Southern Crazy Daisy, when you are ready to retire, where do you see yourself retiring to? Besides thrift store, carousing, and what other hobbies would you like to get into? I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to retire, honestly. I did not make a lot of smart choices financially, primarily. I didn't think, and this is going to sound very flip, I didn't think I would live to be this age. I got sober when I was 33, and I got sober after a suicide attempt. I was going to kill myself. Happy. I did not think I could survive another day. So I did not make any plans and didn't plan to be middle-aged, never mind older. The only saving grace I have right now is the fact that I was smart enough to invest what little I had into buying my own home. So I have some stability here. And worst case, if I ever have to sell it, I could, but I really didn't make any good plans on being old because I didn't think I'd be there. I still might not be there. So I'm going to have to work as long as I can. Thankfully, in this industry, as long as I'm healthy enough to lift a bag, as long as I'm spry enough and I'm cognizant and I don't lose my hearing and all that stuff, I can fly as long as it's safe for me to fly. At one day, if it wasn't safe and I was more of a liability for other people, I would stop flying. But if I keep flying for another 15 years, for example, and my company's seniority stays sort of the same, whatever happens, I may only have to work 20, 30 hours a month to earn what I need for life. My life is very affordable. My HOA and my rent are about $1,000 a month complete. And I really don't have to work a lot to make that. So I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to retire, honestly. And so I don't know what that's going to look like. Besides thrifting, what other hobbies would you like to get into? I'm interested in pottery, as you know. I'm still doing pottery. I'm kind of thinking of giving that up just for financial reasons soon. But yeah, I don't know. Work, pottery, my little thrifting and stuff. Being at home with my cats is really my ideal. Just relaxing at home. Recently, a coworker of mine was sort of encouraging me to go on a more intense vacation. I'll take a day trip here and there, but he was saying go on a big vacation. Go to like Costa Rica, go to Greece, go to this, go to that, go to that. They all travel. My coworkers all travel. And you may have already noticed that I don't. You've never seen me take a trip, have you? Or a vacation? No. Every vacation I have was supposed to get, any money that I was going to spend on a vacation, something always happens. Like when I first met Eleanor, I was supposed to be on vacation, but her bills were my first concern. So I wasn't going to go let this cat die because I was planning on going on a vacation, So anytime something, I have a vacation plan, something has always come up where I just couldn't afford to throw money at it. Now that I own my own home, my idea of a vacation is to sit here in my home, surrounded by things I love, surrounded by my cats, peaceful, easy, sleeping late, not doing laundry, not wearing clothes if I don't want to. That's my favorite idea. I really don't have a burning desire to see Asia. I really don't. I would like to go to Greece one day. That would be nice. I would like to go on a cruise once in a while. But for the most part, I'm very happy at home. I read a lot. I wouldn't mind getting into, it's going to sound silly, stained glass. I used to love doing stained glass in college, but blah, blah, blah. That's it. I really don't have any hobbies I would like to get into that I don't already do now. So I think that's it. This is like a 33-minute long video so far. So let me wrap this up and say thank you very much for watching. If you watched the end, you're a god or a goddess. Thank you so much. I am going to heat up some food, give the cat some treats, and then head off to the post office. So I will see you tomorrow. All right. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you later. Fly safe.